Why, hello there, welcome back to my channel. It is, of course, Chelsea of She Designs Things. And in today's video, I am going to be sharing with you how I create my templates. Not the creation process, but just my template creation workflow. You all voted and decided, and I gave it 7 days, and you all decided that that is the process that you wanted to see. So, without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump into the video. All right, so here in front of you is a site that I am working on. So this will help me kind of explain my process. This is Monomore, and I created Monomore in protest to the designer who doesn't actually design wedding websites. It was a made up situation for the sake of making it up. We're just doing these crazy arguments nowadays. It should be totally illegal, but you know what? I digress. I'm not even going to get into the weeds of that because it's just going to piss me off. Even more so than I've been upset this whole week just about life. Oh my God, America's ghetto. So anyways, back to what I was saying. This is Monomore. It is one of the latest templates that I am designing, and I want to kind of go through a quick brief of what it is my process will look like, and then I'm going to show you guys step by step what my template design process looks like. Okay, so the first step is to pre-plan. When I pre-plan, I decide on the template I want to create, and I start sourcing inspiration. The second step is to create design files in Canva, Adobe, and Google Drive, or on my hard drive, like on my actual computer. The third step is to create a Google site based on the template that I want to create, or a template style. I can usually copy or make a copy of a site that I already have so that I don't have to rebuild each page or structure over and over again. The fourth step is to actually start designing. That's the design process. And then once the design is complete, the fifth step is to start building out the template documentation, so that when someone purchases my Google site template, they receive this document that tells them how to access their Google site. And then once that documentation is complete, I store that template documentation in my Google site. Also, not in my Google site, but in my Google Drive. Also, I should say, I also take images, like screenshots of the different layouts, and I'll kind of explain what those screenshots will look like, the sources that I use for the screenshots. So that is the gist of me creating my my template. That is the rundown, the skinny. So if you don't want to watch me kind of explain those step by step, you do not have to. That's the skinny. But if you want to see, now we can get into what that looks like. All right, so here we are. We're going to start in step 1. So clearly I am ahead of the game in step 1, but I'm going to double back so that you guys can see how I got to this process here for Monomore. All right. I was trying to decide on a new template that I wanted to create, and it just came at, again, a perfect time with the ridiculous whatever, I'm just gonna get frustrated. So with the ridiculousness in the Supreme Court, and I came up with Monomore for that reason. And I was like, I'm gonna do a photography site, because for me a picture is worth 1,000 words, and I think love is love, and that's just what it is. Okay, so we have this beautiful layout, but how did I come up with this layout? Once I have decided on the type of template I want to create, what I have to do is decide if I have a base to go off of. Typically, I will make a copy of a Google site that I already have if I have a base, or if I think a Google site that I already have is going to work as a great base. If I do not, then I will generally say I'm going to create something separate. Or make something that doesn't exist, make a new base, a new wireframe. So for me, I actually start off with thinking about what that site is going to look like. Now, before I can start that wireframing process, I like to get some inspiration. And before I go into the layout part of it, I like to find high functioning, high converting sites to go off of. So I did look up some actual sites for photographers. And what you're gonna find is, like, this reminds me so much of mine. Hold up. So yeah, so you see how this is just like this? This is my, where is it? No, that's not mine. Where did it go? Here's my photography site. For those of you unfamiliar, I am a professional photographer as well. Yes, that's me. I do primarily like brand photography for business branding and just, you know, lifestyle photography. So, and product photography. That's my niche. It kind of, you know, it works out for me. So anyways, when I'm thinking about what I want to create for a photography site, I like to source specifically, and this is not a Google site for anyone asking, this is built on Pixpa. I like to come up with or find sites that are not templates. And I'm going to say this so importantly. Do not, I'm going to say it one more time for those in the back. Do not, please do not, don't do it. Please listen to me, and I will say this in the most polite way possible. Understand what I'm about to tell you, okay? In as many accents as I can think of. Please, when you are sourcing your inspo, don't use another template for your inspo. I mean, as your base inspo, as your swipe file, as we like to call them in design. And the reason I say this is it gives you no indication of its conversion. It gives you no indication of its actual functionality. You're going off of nonsense language with lorem ipsum in there. You don't know what the site is really functioning like. So if you want to build a photography site that's winning, that is supreme being, then you need to find one that's live, that's active, that's in use. Before I even start the swiping, swipe or no swiping, I need to set up my files. And a lot of people are like, set up files? Why would you set up files? So that all the resources I download, if I'm going to be using assets on any of my Google sites, such as frames or anything like that, I definitely want to have those in a file or folder that I have created. So that's why I said I like to create files in Canva, Adobe, or Google Drive, and definitely on my hard drive. So what does that look like in Canva? This is Mon Amour. These are background images. So I source all of my images, as you know, from Canva. And so this is the second step, is definitely sourcing background images or images in general. I really loved these images. And when I find images by a particular photographer that I like, I try to tag them up at the top, just so I know when I'm giving credit for a site, not just to say I got it off of Canva, but to truly state that this was the person's work, because I do try to stick with one photographer for my particular images or niche. So that's why you see me doing it sort of like this. Now, this is a file that I set as background images, so that means that the files are 1200 by 800. And if I'm going to be adding foreground images that are going to be displayed on the site, directly on the site, not background images, those file sizes are 500 by 500. That is the size that I create for those. Then on my computer, and let me just go ahead and open it up, because, you know, why not? So here we have the file located just right here. This is the GS file that I like to call it, which is so funny. So this is Mon Amour, and then dash the year, and then dash GS, so that I know that it is a Google site. Again, I do not just build in Google Sites. That's the only one you guys see me design for templates for. But if my client comes to me and say, yo, I got a WordPress site, I'm like, bet, I got you. So for that reason, this is just my way of designating what it is that I am designing for, because I do want to design for other platforms, and I have Card as well, and I'll kind of explain those in a different video in the future. Since nobody sponsors me, I'm not going to put them on like that. You know, I'm trying to, I got bills. got medical bills. But I digress. Let's go on, and now that you've seen the folder, let me show you. Well, you've seen the folder, and then I've also shown you like how I create my template. Now, a lot of people ask, how do I make a copy of my site? This is Google Site 101. This is the first thing you should know how to do. So I will never, ever, ever make you feel silly or goofy for asking a question. You got to start somewhere, right? It's never just known. I had a client call me, they had an issue. They couldn't figure out what the issue was. They were like, yo, I don't get it. Why am I having an issue? If you have an issue with your Google site, the very first thing I'm going to tell you to do is to make a copy. There might be something wrong with your particular site, so you might benefit from making a copy, which is why sometimes you'll see me, if there's an issue between fonts, like some people have an issue where they're like, oh, my font isn't displaying correctly when I'm using a theme. Did you make a copy of your site? Try that. If you haven't, well, what do you want? I don't know what to tell you. Because if you look in Monomore right now across the top, this is not the font that I'm using, but it's the font that's showing up. And that's because I have multiple fonts. I think there's about 8 fonts on this. And that's because I have not removed the old data from this site, because it is built using the Wilderness, which does use a plethora of other fonts. And plus, I think it's just using the same font that I have in here as the regular text. But I digress. We want to make a copy. Since this is built using the Wilderness, let's pretend that I am going to make I'm going to make a copy of Monomore. I'm going to make a copy of a site. To make a copy of a Google site or of any site, you first want to access the site. So for me, that is just going, and I always recommend just opening it in a new tab. And then in the upper corner, you're going to have the 3 dots that's along the side that will show you make a copy. That's how you make a copy. You also have version history, just so you know, if you ever want to see like the variations. So you can see here that on June 30th at 9:38 in the morning, because why not? This is what the original site looked like. This was the original site. And then this is the current site of Monomore. So just keep that in mind. You can go through your version history, and you can also name the version V1 or Hello 1. Whatever it is, you can name the versions of your sites. But this isn't a getting started. It's just a little bit of a tip for you to have about your Google site. Now, and about you moving forward. I also recommend, if you are selling or making templates, to when you make your template file, the versions will not follow suit. They won't follow it. That's why I build everything as a live version, and then I have the template that I provide as a separate version. That way the versions don't go following to people who are downloading or who are making a copy of my Google site. So moving forward into my process, you guys see I've made the copy. So now it's just starting to design. So now that I have decided that I'm going to create a Google site, I've sourced some inspiration. The hardest part is sourcing images, and images make or break your site. I like to start in Canva, and I like to start with the first image you're going to see. This first image I've changed about 100 times. And the reason I change it is because sometimes I start off with an image, but it just doesn't go with the vibe of what I want to have. But this one definitely goes with the vibe. I knew for a fact that I wanted to have an LGBTQ plus couple, but I also knew that I wanted them to be women, and I wanted them to be women of color. So that was a very hard image to locate. Let me say that. It was a very hard image to locate that was in stock photography. And this is not a stock photography photo. This is an actual married couple. And I had to find them by locating this site, which is Black Nuptials. And so I will, something like this, I will definitely have to add and link the information so that it just, just so that it makes sense. But I thought their images were absolutely beautiful. And so I'm like, I hope you two have a beautiful, happy wedding. And then I'm also going to reach out to the photographer because, like, what if they're like, no, I really don't want you to. But I'm like, but why though? I just want to use it. It would be so sad. But anyways, I digress. Going forward, I'm going to credit you, Plus they have a Jeep. Like, once I saw they were in a Jeep and I have a Jeep, I was like, it's a wrap. All right. Moving forward. So now you know how I get the images. And how I kind of come up with the layout. I source layouts. So that's pretty much how I start my design process. Now, to create the template documentation, let's talk about my template documentation. I do have a template documentation. Once my template is complete and it's done, I will make a copy of this template and I'll show you what that looks like. I will just go make a copy. And then instead of it being in my live sites, like live Google Sites folder, I actually have another folder. I will call it that particular folder name. And so I will change this and then I will title this, instead of where it says that 2023, I would usually say dash and then temp. Just so that I know that it's the template file. And the reason I put the year is so that I know what year I created that template is, because some of my templates, if it's been a certain number or years or time or whatever, you want to make sure you're updating them. Nobody wants to buy something that's outdated, and I regularly update all of my templates. There's not a single template in my store that has not been updated. Just so we're clear, every last one of my templates receive an update all the time, because as changes are made, I make sure I go through it and make sure nothing's broken or looking crazy. So I would change this, and then I would change the folder. I'm not going to change the folder right now because I don't want you guys to see all my folder names and stuff. For other files, I would change the folder to something else, and then this would go into my template folder, and that's exactly where it shall be. And then I would take the link from my Google Drive, which I actually have a video already, and I will leave a card for the video on how I create the template documentation, just so you can follow that part. But now let's talk about the marketing part, since I'm not going to share with you the template documentation part, only because I already have that video and I am going to tag it, and I'm going to put it in the description, and I'm going to leave it in the comment section, and it's going to be a card. And I'm gonna do so in a train, on a plane, on a boat, and everything for you, Sam. I am. No, I'm not kidding. But just so you can see that documentation part. Now, taking screenshots for marketing and creating marketing assets is probably the part where everyone gets lost. They're like, Chelt, we see what you're doing, but how do you create the marketing? How do you do it? I want to know how it's done. All right, two things. One, I don't do anything special. And two, it's a browser extension. So I'm going to open my site. Where is it? I'm going to just use this one as an example. This site is not published, it's not live. So the black bar here is still going to be in the way, but I'm using Go Full Page. It's $12 a year, or you can use the free version. So what I like to do is just click on Go Full Page, and it will take a full page screenshot of the site, and there you'll see it. So let's say I like it, but I want to crop out the sides because it's not going to work for me, or I don't really care to have all that excess across the side, or I want to get rid of the bar. I can do something like this, and then scroll down and just, kind of make sure everything is pretty much equal. I don't care if it's 100% equal, but that is equal enough. And then I am going to lower this just a little bit so I can get rid of the hello part. And then actually, no, I'll leave it because it'll probably cut it off anyway, and click done. And so you see, that's what I'm working with now. And now I need to just sign in, and then I'll be able to export it. So sign in. Now I would hit download as a PNG, and then there's the PNG image. I would open it up, and we can see that there is that full design. Now this you can take and do a number of things with, but I'm just going to show you the faster way that I take this screen grab. Once I have the first screen grab, if I have multiple pages, I will take multiple pages and take images of it. I am going to go to the phone mode, scroll all the way up to the top, and do the same thing. Take a screenshot. Yes, go full page does take a screenshot while you are inside of the, what do you call this? Preview mode for your Google site. And this is what it looks like. So you'll still have to edit it. So I'm going to go to edit, and I'm going to go to crop. I'm just going to bring this down. Scroll all the way, bring this up, looks great, and then tuck this in on the side, and then also bring this in on the side. I want them both in just a little tighter. Now usually if I was doing my browser, like in the browser to view it, I wouldn't have to do this, but because I didn't, I do have to crop it. Click done. And now we see we are left with this beautiful mobile view. And then I'll just click download, and now I have the mobile view. So now that I have the mobile view, I'm going to just go ahead on over back into Canva. And this is where you're going to find that I have way too many design mock-ups for ads. And so I do have a folder that's called like Etsy ads. Even though this isn't going to be just for an Etsy ad, let's just pretend that that's what it's going to say. I usually like to do select an option that's going to be closely related to this site. So if it is a premium design, which this one will not be a premium design, it will be a standard design, so close to the photographer, I will go to the photographer and click make a copy. Gonna open it up, going to rename this from copy of the photographer to Mon Amour. Sorry, AMOUR. And then that's what I'm going to change it into here as well, which is Mon Amour. Copy. And again, I uploaded, or download I should say. So I'm going to just drag it and drop it, the images from my computer into Canva. Now, sometimes when you drag and drop in the images, they show up blurry, and you're like, why you do that? But don't worry, it's usually not going to download blurry, so I don't really pay it any attention, not too much. So then I'll just drag the image, drop it in here, and then pull it down so that I can see it in a way that I want it to show up, such as like that. And then let's say, for example, you know, this is one image. I do need to move it to the background, so I am going to go to position to the back, and that's just so I can move things around. And I'm going to drag these over here, and I'm going to move the ladies up. Now I can either move the ladies up, or I can go back and take another image, another full image using the tablet view, because the tablet view is different. And so the tablet view will look like so. And so I am going to just take a tablet view just so I can see. Cool. So now I can click edit, crop, bring in that crop from corner to corner, just like this. And again, we want to pull it up to the bottom, all the way to the bottom, all the way. Perfection. I'm going to click done cropping and download. Now that's the right way to do it, but I'm going to be honest, I always just do the full and the mobile because ain't nobody really checking on tablet. I'm sorry, nobody. I have 2 tablets, and even when I go to sites, because I'm always using them, not portrait mode, but like not vertical, horizontal, then I see them like you would on a desktop. So for me, it just doesn't make any sense. So I am going to upload this here just so we can have it, and I'm going to drag it and drop it in here. And then I'm going to move this down. And now when I move it down, you'll see that's what Monomore looks like. It does, again, show up blurry here, but not when you download it. And I'll just share what that looks like. So now I'm going to take this, edit, go to position, forward, forward again, actually backwards 1. And then the colors, let's see something here. The colors don't really align with what I got in the image for Monomore. So I am going to select what I have for Monomore here, which is there. And then these cream dots, I am going to change their colors so that they're a little more gold, I guess, or brown. Yeah, brown color. Perfect. And there you have it. That's pretty much what this would look like. Now, if I wanted to download it or share it, on Instagram, there's the Instagram button. But let's just say I'm getting ready to share this because it's a part of my marketing material. I would typically fill all of this information in as a part of the template, and then click download all without the transparency. But I would do a set without transparency and a set with transparency. But for now, I'm going to share with you just the page 1 download, just so you can see that it's not blurry. It just shows up blurry in here because that's just what it does. And there you have it. Now I did need to move the image over more so that I wouldn't have that gap along the side. But as you see, the images are not blurry. It's just the way that Canva has rendered them. They look blurry as you zoom in, but honestly, no one's that close. It's usually out to here. And I think that this looks great. So this would be a part of my marketing material. And then I would go ahead and add it to my store, my Etsy store, and then my store that's on my Google site. And then what else would happen? I would take the marketing images as well, put them all in a folder, and that is pretty much it. So I do hope you guys get a full understanding of what it is. I would promote the template, do everything I said pretty much in this video. It is a long process for me to create my templates. So I'm always like, don't resell or redistribute. I take my time. I have an entire support center set up, and I'll show you what that looks like for those who's never seen it. This is my documentation center that I have, where people, and by people I mean those who have purchased my templates, can go and get the support they need. They can search. Let's say they want to know how to add a newsletter. If they want to search newsletter, and here they can find out how to add the newsletter. And so, yeah, give them so many options for working with newsletters, and then how to actually add the newsletter. Like, I just have so many instructions listed. It isn't even funny. And I have taken so much time to write all of these instructions out. And again, this is just something that I do. You do not have to go through the full gambit of doing this. Okay, so here's my templates stuff, and this is the long process. All right, thanks again so much for watching. And again, if you want to see the client version or variation of this, I do have my 6-part series of how I design my Google sites. That kind of goes into the client variation of it, but I can kind of make a shorter video much like this instead of making it like 5 1-hour-long videos. I can make like a 30-minute video showing you my full client process from start to finish. My client process, again, is different if you are coming in from my site versus coming in from a referral versus coming in from Etsy. It's a little bit different, but the meat and potatoes is pretty much the same. All right, and again, don't forget to head on over to my store and my limited release store, which has a new template in the limited release store. Yes, yes, yes. If you have not checked out the limited release shop, I have just launched. Yes, I have just launched this template right here, which is the Groovy Portfolio. So the Groovy Portfolio is finally up and available. The buttons are different, so I will need to change them. The reason you don't see the buttons on the Groovy Portfolio is because I decided to go with standard Google buttons. So when you view the live demo, this is what you will see, just to make it easier, make the design cleaner. And this design does use the full Google site width. This was the perfect design for it, and I am really proud of the way it came out and the way it looks. And yes, this is because I am finishing up the homestead furnishings, which should also be complete by the end of next week. So I have so many designs that are launching, and I can't wait to share them all with you. All right, again, thanks so much for watching, and of course, see ya.